Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big Blue News. I'm your host, Jason.
And I'm Sasha. Let's get right into the news.
After 8 years as the Swampscott Town Administrator, Sean Fitzgerald has decided to resign with 6 months left in his contract. However, it was confirmed that the Assistant Town Administrator, Gino Cresta, will do the job until the Select Board finds someone else to fill the position. A few current and former Select Board members sent out statements about how thankful they were to have Sean Fitzgerald to work with them. A current Select Board member, Doug Thompson, said, "Swampscott is in a much stronger and more resilient position today, thanks in large part because of Sean's leadership." And former Select Board member Peter Spelio stated, "It was a sad day for Swampscott, and good things happened in abundance because of Sean's vision and leadership." Fitzgerald worked with town officials and staff to improve Swampscott in many different ways. They refined Swampscott infrastructure, created a new integrated elementary school, made enhancements to municipal finance, along with playgrounds and parks, preserved more than 10 acres of open space, redeveloped Hadley School into a hotel, worked to restore Kings Beach, and more. Fitzgerald also had a disclosure of his own in the town statement. "I am honored to have had a chance to serve a community I have always loved. I will miss working with some of the most outstanding colleagues, but it's time for me to refocus on my family, particularly my 3 boys, who have sacrificed the most due to my seemingly never-ending work days and constant evening meetings. Time moves fast, and I want more time to spend with them."
On Tuesday, January 6th, 3 wildfires broke out in California on the same day. The Palisades Fire, burning around 10 a.m., started burning thousands of acres around beach towns of Santa Monica and Malibu. The Eaton Fire, which broke out around 6:30 p.m. in the Altadena near the Pasadena and burned more than 10,000 acres, and the smaller Hurst Fire, which ignited in Selmar around 10:30 p.m. in the San Fernando Valley northwest of downtown Los Angeles and consumed about 500 acres. But on Wednesday, January 7th, 2 more of those wildfires arose. The Lydia Fire broke out in the mountainous Acton area of Los Angeles and grew to cover almost 350 acres of land, along with the Sunset Fire, which broke out in the Hollywood Hills, growing to about 20 acres in less than an hour, which now covers 43 acres. While the official cause of the wildfires isn't known, most officials have pointed to high winds and drought in the area, which has made vegetation very dry and easy to burn. And climate change is another contributing factor. The latest news on the fire is that more than 137,000 people have been forced to evacuate their homes, most trying to bring their belongings wherever they go. Police stating at least 5 people have sadly passed away, and their bodies being found near the Easton Fire. And more than 1,000 structures are known to be destroyed, including houses, schools, businesses, along with entire neighborhoods. We send our condolences to the people lost to these vicious fires and pray that no more casualties are ensured and that the fires will dissipate. We will now cut to David at the weather desk for some more information about the wildfires.
Thanks, Sasha. As Sasha just pointed out, the dry weather conditions and the high winds in LA have made these fires uncontrollable. This has been an unprecedented dry spurge that has happened in LA, and the high winds have made any kind of spark unable to be controlled. As she said, while it is unknowable what started the fire, whatever it did caused the most destructive wildfire known in California's history. It has caused more property damage than any fire before this. And this is a very horrible scene that I think we can all understand the gravity and the severity of the situation. Now let's go to precipitation. As you can see, we have recently a winter storm has passed through Massachusetts and is now going into the Atlantic. There is currently a very big cloud that is coming down upon the south, mostly in Texas and all the southern states. It is very heavy in Florida right now. As you can see, there's a certain amount of clouds in the north area here that are going to cut across the Great Lakes and into Massachusetts, although there is very low likelihood that any precipitation is going to happen. Now let's go on to the pressure. With these low clouds, with these very light clouds that are coming in from the north, there's also low pressure coming in, meaning that it's going to be a more warm weather than normally expected. As you can see, there is a very cold, dry spell going into the south, which corresponding with the high amount of rain that's happening right now, will bring rain and freezing rain into the south, which could be very damaging to the people living there. Now, the extent how damaging it can be is unknown, but it expected that some kind of property damage might happen. And as you can see, we still have very dry weather conditions in LA. While the fires have mostly died down and the winds have calmed, it is still very dry right now. And a possibility of another fire happening is very low, but still possible. Going to the weekly coverage. So it is going to be increasing clouds with high near 21, west winds 9 to 10 LMPM today. Tonight is going to be mostly cloudy during the early evening and gradually clearing. With a low around 8, wind chill values are as low as -3, and a northwest wind around 8 miles per hour. Wednesday sunny with a high near 20, wind chill values as low as -4, and a northwest wind 6 to 9 p.m. and a low of 15. Thursday is going to be a high near 30 and a southwest wind 6 to 10 miles per hour with a low of 19. Friday is going to be sunny with a high near 29, west winds to 7 to 9 miles per hour with a low of 19. Saturday is going to be sunny with a high near 30, west wind 8 to 10 miles per hour and a low of 24. So you're looking at a mostly cloudy but also warm past next week. Back to the news desk with Jason.
Swampscott resident and longtime community member Ina Resnikoff is currently in need of a kidney transplant. Resnikoff, a 47 Swampscott resident, says she is not a good candidate for dialysis. Her kidney issues started 12 years ago when she broke her back in Cuba. Resnikoff has said the organization Renewal has helped set up her network for finding potential donors. If you'd like to know more about Resnikoff's story or would like to see if you are a potential match, you can call 781-431-9831, or you can reach out directly at renewal.org.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced his resignation, bringing an end to 10 years in power. The decision comes amid mounting challenges, including waning popularity fueled by the cost of living crisis, controversies surrounding immigration policies, and recent high-profile clashes with U.S. President Donald Trump. The political turbulence deepened within the resignation of his finance minister, signaling internal discord within the Liberal Party. Furthermore, the New Democrats and the Bloc Québécois recently abandoned their alliance with Trudeau, leaving his government increasingly isolated. Polls now suggest that Conservatives are on track for a landslide victory in the next election.
North Shore residents taking the commuter rail in and out of North Shore Station will face additional disruptions on multiple weekends in early 2025. These disruptions will occur due to construction work being done on the Malfa Way and Mystic Avenue bridges. Both bridges require repair and currently have no accommodations for bicycles and pedestrians like a sidewalk or bike lane. The work is scheduled for the weekends of January 18th, 19th, February 1st, 2nd, February 15th, 16th, and March 8th and 9th. On these specific days, the MBTA made it known that there will be shuttle bus services available for people from Swampscott, Newburyport, and Rockport to get to North Station.
Mid-year exams are starting for all HHS students this weekend. The day starts at 8:30 with the first exam going until 10:30. Lunch is offered in the cafeteria from 10:30 to 11. The next period goes from 11 to 1 o'clock, and the last period, flex block, is from 1 o'clock to 2:35. This period is for students to be able to study for an exam with a teacher or quiet study in the library. We wish students good luck on the midterms.
Inauguration Day 2025 happened in Washington, D.C. yesterday, January 20th, which is also MLK Day. This is the first time a president has been inaugurated on the holiday this century, but it has happened before. Inauguration Day is a day when the president-elect and vice president-elect are sworn into office. This being the 60th presidential inauguration Donald Trump has taken in office. Trump also took office on January 20th, 2017.
On Wednesday, January 1st, 2025, over 200 people participated in the 19th annual Polar Plunge. The Polar Plunge is an annual charity event run by the Swampscott Yacht Club. This year, the Yacht Club raised more than $10,000 for the 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip. Mr. Rogers said, being the beneficiary of the Polar Plunge will enable the SMS 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip scholarship fund to support many students this year and in coming ways, who otherwise could not afford to attend the trip to Washington, D.C. Annually, we work very hard to continue to maintain our scholarship fund, and yet we struggle to meet the growing financial needs for some of our students' families. The proceeds from this year's plunge will give us a considerable boost that is unprecedented for us. The trip to DC is a 4-day, 3-night extradition during which our students get to experience the most significant and important sites and locations in our nation's capital. And we could not be more appreciative and thankful that the Swampscott Yacht Club has provided us with this ability to ensure that each and every student will not miss out on this experience that has become an 8th grade rite of passage here at SMS.
In April 2024, former President Joe Biden signed a law forcing TikTok to divest from its U.S. operations or face a nationwide ban, setting up a legal fight over the fate of the app. Congress said that the law was necessary because ByteDance is controlled by the Chinese government and that its ability to harvest vast amounts of personal information from American users is a national security threat. In May 2024, TikTok sued the U.S. government, claiming the law unconstitutional because it violates First Amendment rights. In August 2024, the Federal Trade Commission and the Department of Justice filed a joint lawsuit against TikTok and ByteDance, alleging that the social media app violates children's online privacy law. On January 10, 2025, the Supreme Court heard a plethora of arguments about the law and appeared inclined to uphold it. Last Friday, January 17th, the Supreme Court upheld the law. The app started going dark hours before the ban was actually set to take effect this past Sunday, January 19th. That day, President Trump promised he would sign an executive order to allow a 75-day extension. Shortly after that announcement, TikTok came back online in the U.S. Sunday afternoon. If TikTok doesn't sell to a non-Chinese company within 75 days, it will officially be banned in the U.S. If it ends up getting banned, it will be very detrimental for those who have been content creators on the platform for many years, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out in the coming weeks and months.
Israel conducted airstrikes in Gaza overnight on Thursday, killing at least 70 people just hours after a ceasefire and hostage release agreement was announced. The deal, mediated by Qatar, Egypt, and the U.S., aims to end a 15-month war that has devastated Gaza and escalated tensions around the Middle East. The ceasefire is set to begin on Sunday, with Israeli forces gradually withdrawing from Gaza in exchange for the release of hostages held by Hamas and Palestinian prisoners detained by Israel. However, the ceasefire's implementation remains uncertain as the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused Hamas of reneging on key aspects of the deal, delaying its approval by Israel's Security Cabinet. Despite these delays, Hamas reaffirmed its commitment to the ceasefire, while some hardline members of Netanyahu's government opposed the agreement. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and Police Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir have threatened to leave the government if the ceasefire is approved. Meanwhile, Gaza residents still reeling from the latest airstrikes that killed dozens and wounded over 200 are urging for a swift implementation of the truce to end the ongoing destruction and loss of life. Global leaders, including former U.S. President Joe Biden, have expressed support for the deal, emphasizing its importance in halting the violence, delivering humanitarian aid, and reuniting hostages with their families. If successful, the ceasefires could ease regional tensions and pave the way for long-term solutions. The first phase includes the release of 33 Israeli hostages, with further negotiations addressing the release of the remaining captives, a permanent ceasefire, and the reconstruction of Gaza. The international aid organizations are preparing to scale up the humanitarian efforts in anticipation of the ceasefire. The conflict, which began in October in 2023, had led to widespread devastation, with tens of thousands killed and most of Gaza's population displaced. The agreement seeks to bring an end to violence and laid the groundwork for rebuilding the war-torn region.
Jimmy Carter, who was the 39th President of the United States from 1977 to 1981, died at the age of 100 in Plains, Georgia, surrounded by his family. According to CNN, despite facing economic challenges in the Iran hostage crisis during his presidency, Carter is remembered for his notable achievements in foreign policy, including the Camp David Accords and his focus on human rights. After his presidency, he changed what it means to be a former president by becoming a humanitarian and advocating for many global issues through the Carter Center. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump both shared their condolences, acknowledging Carter's character and his contributions to humanity. His wife Rosalind passed away in November 2023, and they were married for 77 years. Carter's legacy is marked by his commitment to service and kindness, which has greatly impacted many people around the world during his 43 years of humanitarian work after leaving office. And now, we will cut to Ian, where he will interview House Representative Jenny Armini about the 2024 legislature.
Thanks, Jason. So we are here with Representative Jenny Armini, who since 2023 has been representing the 8th District of Essex County, which is Marblehead, Swampscott, and a little bit of Lynn. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you for having me. It is great to be here.
All right, so you've been in House for 2 years now. Can you tell us about a little bit how it's been for you?
Sure. So I just finished my first term. Thank you to the people of Swampscott for electing me to a second term. They're 2-year terms. So I'm incredibly excited to get back to work after the holidays. This is the honor of a lifetime to have a job like this, because every day is an opportunity to help people, and you help people through legislation. You help people individually. People call my office asking for assistance for certain things. It could be, help with a state agency. It could be help making a rent payment. How can I connect them with resources to do that? It's an incredibly, it's also a humbling job too. You realize that you have an opportunity to help people and an obligation to help people, and so I'm very fortunate to have it.
That's awesome. Are there any pieces of legislation are you currently working on?
So this is the beginning of the 194th legislative session. It's incredible, right? 194th. What happens is at the beginning of the session, every legislator has to file their bills by the end of January, or the middle of January rather. In fact, we all just filed our bills by last Friday. Then they're taken and they're numbered and they're assigned to committees. And there were almost 7,000 bills filed. So those are the bills that we are going to be considering for this 2-year legislative session. So I file bills related to fighting climate change, helping victims of sexual abuse, improving the child support enforcement program that we have in the state, believe it or not, planting more trees, getting communities to plant more trees because they absorb carbon and help us fight climate change. I've filed an energy bill to get us all using network geothermal more than we do now. So the bills cover a range. And in the coming several months, they will all get a hearing, because in Massachusetts, every piece of legislation gets a hearing. Isn't that amazing? That is not the case in every state. So anyone across the state can come and testify for or against a bill. So people will come, and they can also testify virtually, which is incredible. So if you're out in the far reaches of Western Mass, out in Williamstown, you can zoom in to a hearing and offer testimony. We just had, I don't know if you saw, the governor did her State of the Commonwealth last week, and in it she said we just finished the most active and consequential legislative session, one of them, in the state's history. So I'm really proud that I was able to be part of that.
That's awesome. What do you think is the most important bill that was passed, and what impact will it have on Swampscott?
Well, it's hard to say what the most important bill is. We passed a huge housing bill that's going to bring funds to Swampscott to help support senior housing and build more housing. We passed a maternal health bill. We passed an economic development bill to bring more jobs to Massachusetts. We passed the HEROES Act, which is it's the first time in 20 years that we have revamped veteran services in Massachusetts. That's going to help our Swampscott veterans. So every single bill will have an impact on Swampscott. But I will say, I was able to pass a bill just for Swampscott. I don't know if you know this, but the select board in Swampscott used to be called the Board of Selectmen. So we had to pass a bill in the legislature to officially change Swampscott's Board of Selectmen to Swampscott Select Board. So that was passed and signed by the governor.
Cool. So here it says, can you discuss Bill 326, which is the act to modernize funding for community media programming? As you know, it didn't get passed last session. We are seeing our funding decrease by up to 10% each year. What do you think is keeping it from passing, and what can we do to help it get past this session?
Sure. This is a bill that I've co-sponsored and will continue to co-sponsor. And what it does is it places a fee on entertainment companies, so Netflix, for example, small fee, that is then passed along to places like this to help community TV thrive. Now, we all know, particularly with so many small newspapers, community newspapers dying, that community news is incredibly, incredibly important. This place where you are right now is incredibly important to our democracy, to educating people, to keeping people engaged and informed. And so I think it's a small price to pay to have these enormous entertainment companies pay a tiny percentage and pass it along to our communities. Now, as I told you, there were over 7,000 bills introduced last session, almost 7,000 introduced last Friday. So of course, not every bill gets passed, right? It's just an unbelievable number. So this is one of those bills that didn't get passed. I think when you're dealing with the entertainment industry, again, like a Netflix, you're gonna have people who are gonna oppose the bill. And so I am hopeful that this session, we can get those folks in the room with folks who support community TV and really talk about why this is important. You know, legislation is, at a fundamental level, a conversation. And we need to have a conversation with the entertainment community about their obligation to helping our communities, our community TV, thrive. And we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep introducing the bill as long as we have to pass it.
All right. Finally, how do you think the new administration will affect the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
It's a big question. I think that we don't know. I think that's the short answer, is we truly don't know. During the Biden administration, we were very fortunate through the Inflation Reduction Act and the infrastructure bill to get millions of dollars for incredibly important infrastructure, climate projects. I am hopeful that that funding will continue. I think that Governor Haley is committed to doing what it takes to protect Massachusetts in any way. In those areas that don't align with our values, we will fight the administration, right? But we are also open. I've heard Governor Haley say she's open to working with the administration to bring resources and to protect Massachusetts. So it's a fine line. I wish I had, an answer, a confident answer, but we just don't know. The only thing I can say is we have terrific leadership in Massachusetts, and that will help us no matter what happens. You can always have faith in Massachusetts.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you for having me.
For being here and just answering my questions.
Anytime. Can I come back?
Sure. Maybe
Thanks.
one day.
Okay.
Now back to the news desk with Jason and Sasha.
Thanks, Ian, and thank you once again, Representative Armini. It was an honor to have you. Now we will cut to the sports desk with Adrian.
Thanks, Sasha. The boys basketball team hosted Salem last Tuesday, which was a divisional matchup for the two teams with big implications for the playoffs. Swampscott dropped closer at home to the Witches 50-47. Last weekend, Coach Knowles took his team to Springfield for a sleepaway tournament. In Springfield, the boys went 1-1, beating Westerly 72-56 and losing to Springfield International Charter 44-36. The boys currently sit 12th in Division I and run into their toughest test of the season tonight at home versus Masco at 7 p.m. The girls' basketball team have won 3 out of their last 5 games, beating Peabody, Whittier Regional, Lynn Tech, and dropping a close game to Saugus, sadly losing a nail-biter to Marblehead. They, too, face their toughest test of the season away at Masco tonight at 6 p.m. The boys' hockey team hosted Danvers on Saturday, where they tied 5-5 in overtime. The team currently stands at 3-6 and will face the Beverly Panthers tomorrow in Beverly, where they look to get back on the winning side of things. Recently, the coaches of the Marblehead girls hockey team have resigned. A parent of a player who wishes to remain anonymous commented, Marblehead High School athletics communication was nearly non-existent and has left many questions unanswered. But the newly named head coach seems like a good fit, and the team has been doing well since he came on board. A player who also wishes to remain anonymous commented, none of the players knew this was happening. We showed up to practice, and the coaches had all resigned. The Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, also known as the MIAA, released their first power rankings for all winter sports on Friday, January 10th. The rankings will now be updated every Tuesday and Friday for the remainder of the season. Swampscott's basketball and hockey teams each found their current spot in the playoff hunt and will continue to be able to as the season progresses. The boys basketball team stands strong at 6-2 and 12th in Division III, while the girls are 4-3 and sit at 38th, also in Division III. The boys hockey team, combined with Peabody and Saugus, is currently 3-4 and are 41st in Division I. Some teams may be disappointed with their performances so far, but a long season awaits, as most teams are not even halfway into their 2025 seasons. Gerard Mayo, former Patriots head coach, got fired after a 4-13 season. Kraft said this in an interview after his decision to fire Mayo. This whole situation is on me. I feel terrible for Gerard because I put him in an untenable situation. I know that he has all the tools as a head coach to be successful in this league. He just needed more time before taking the job. In the end, I'm a fan of the team first, and now I have to go out and find a coach who can get us back to the playoffs and hopefully championships. On January 12th, NFL insiders reported that the Patriots have hired one of the team's Hall of Famers, Mike Vrabel, to replace Mayo. He is expected to sign a multi-year deal. Vrabel interviewed with the team last week along with Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. Many viewed Vrabel as a lock to land the job. Three reports said the team was willing to be blown away by Johnson. Vrabel spent 2024 as a coaching and personnel consultant for the Cleveland Browns after 5 seasons as the head coach for the Tennessee Titans. He was named the NFL's Coach of the Year in 2021. We wish Vrabel the best of luck in his new position. Well, that's all for sports. Back to the news desk with Jason and Sasha.
Thanks, Adrian. For our upcoming events, we have a Zoning Board of Appeals meeting on January 21st, a Capital Improvement Committee meetings on January 23rd and 30th, and National Holocaust Remembrance Day on January 27th, and lastly, Swampscott Fish Tales on March 29th.
We thank you for joining us on this episode of Big Blue News.
Tune in next time and be sure to like and subscribe.